Hello, and welcome to Sarah and Paul Conversation. In today's episode, Sarah and Paul are going to talk about job interviews in English. Whether you are preparing for your very first interview or looking to move to a new company, knowing the right phrases can make all the difference. Don't worry. After this conversation, you'll feel much more confident and prepared. Here we go.
So, Paul, I have to tell you something exciting. I just got back from a job interview this morning.
Oh, wow, Sarah. How did it go? Which position was it for?
It was for a marketing manager role at a technology company. And honestly, it went really well. But I was so nervous beforehand. My heart was beat to fast the moment I walked into the building.
I completely understand that feeling. Job interviews in English can be stressful, especially when you're not a native speaker and you're trying to sound professional at the same time. You want to express yourself clearly, but your mind goes blank and suddenly you've forgotten every English word you've ever learned.
Exactly, Paul. And that's precisely what I want to talk about today, because I think a lot of our listeners find themselves in that situation. They know enough English to do the job brilliantly. But the moment someone looks at them and says, "So tell me about yourself," everything disappears.
Ha! That question. It sounds deceptively simple, but it's actually one of the hardest ones to answer well, isn't it? Because it's so open.
It really is. You start wondering, do I talk about where I grew up, my education, my hobbies? What does the interviewer actually want to know?
Right. So let's start there. The secret with "tell me about yourself" is that the interviewer doesn't want your entire life story. They want a short, confident, professional summary of who you are and why you're sitting in that chair. A really useful formula is present, past, future.
Oh, I like that. Can you break it down a little?
Of course. You start with your present, what you are doing right now, your current role and responsibilities. Then you go to your past, a brief mention of relevant experience or your background. And finally, you finish with the future, why you're excited about this specific opportunity. It keeps your answer focused and structured, and it tells the interviewer exactly what they need to know.
That's such a clear structure. So, for example, you might say something like, "I'm currently working as a marketing coordinator at a digital agency. I've been there for about 3 years, and in that time, I've had the opportunity to manage social media campaigns and work directly with clients. Before that, I studied communications at university, which gave me a strong foundation. I'm really excited about this role because I'm looking to take the next step and lead a whole team."
Perfect. And that's exactly it. Clear, confident, and it flows naturally. And notice how you used "I've been there for about 3 years." That present perfect is very natural when you're describing how long you've been in a current job. You're still there, so you don't use the past simple.
Good point. And "I've had the opportunity to" is a lovely phrase, isn't it? It sounds more polished than just saying, "I did."
Absolutely. Other phrases that work really well in this context. "I've had the chance to develop my skills in," "I've been involved in," or "over the past few years I've built up experience in." They all sound professional and confident without being arrogant.
Now, what about when interviewers ask you to go into more detail about your work history? Things like, "Can you walk me through your experience?" Or, "What were your main responsibilities in your last role?"
Great question, and this is where people often make tense mistakes. If you're talking about a job you had in the past, a job that's finished, you use the past simple. "I worked at a software company for 2 years. I was responsible for managing the social media accounts. I led a team of 5 people."
And if you're talking about your current job, you switch to the present simple or present continuous. I'm responsible for, I manage, I work closely with the sales team.
Exactly. And here's a phrase that trips a lot of learners up. Used to versus I'm used to. These look similar, but they mean completely different things.
Oh, yes. Can you explain the difference?
Sure. I used to work in finance means you did it in the past, but you don't anymore. It's about a habit or situation that has ended. I'm used to working under pressure means it's familiar to you. You're comfortable with it. It describes your current experience. So in an interview, both are useful, but for completely different reasons.
So you might say, I used to work for a large multinational, talking about past experience. And then I'm used to managing multiple projects at the same time, showing you can handle the demands of the role.
Exactly right, Sarah. Both in the same answer even. That kind of precise language really impresses interviewers because it shows you understand the nuance.
Now let's move on to one of the most important and feared questions. What are your greatest strengths?
This one can feel a bit uncomfortable because you're essentially being asked to talk about how great you are. But a lot of people go wrong by giving a very generic answer.
Right? Things like, I'm a hard worker or I'm a good team player. The problem is that every single candidate says those things. They've lost all meaning.
So what's the better approach?
The key is to be specific and back up what you say with a real example. A really useful structure for this is called the STAR method: situation, task, action, result. So instead of just saying, I'm good at problem solving, you tell a small story. You describe a situation you were in, the task you needed to complete, the action you took, and the result you achieved.
So it would sound something like, one of my strengths is staying calm under pressure. Last year, a client pulled out of a major campaign 2 days before the launch. I reorganized the team, contacted our backup suppliers, and we delivered the campaign on time. The client was so impressed that they actually increased their budget with us by 30% the following quarter.
That's so much more powerful than just saying, I'm calm under pressure. You're showing it, not just telling it. And the result with numbers? 30%. That's very convincing.
Absolutely. Numbers make your achievements concrete and memorable, even if it's something like we reduced response times by half or I managed a budget of €50,000. Specifics always land better than vague statements.
Great. Now, the question that makes everyone sweat, the weakness question. What is your greatest weakness? Paul, what do you think is the absolute worst answer you can give?
Easy. I don't have any weaknesses. It's terrible because it makes you sound either dishonest or completely lacking in self-awareness, and interviewers have heard it thousands of times. It just signals that you haven't prepared.
And the almost equally bad answer?
My biggest weakness is that I work too hard, or I'm a perfectionist. These are so overused that interviewers actually cringe. You're not being vulnerable, you're trying to disguise a strength as a weakness, and everyone can see through it.
So what should you actually do with this question?
The golden rule is this: mention a genuine weakness, but immediately show that you are actively working on it. You're being honest and self-aware, but you're also demonstrating growth and a positive attitude. For example, I've noticed that I sometimes find it difficult to delegate tasks because I like things done in a specific way. But I've been working on this. Over the past year, I've been giving my team more ownership of projects, and I've actually seen how much better the results are when everyone contributes their idea.
That's brilliant because it's honest. It's a real weakness. But it ends on a positive note. You're not a problem. You're someone who improves.
Exactly. Other good examples. I can get quite anxious before presentations, so I've been practicing regularly and taking a public speaking course. It's really made a difference. Or I sometimes say yes to too many things at once, which used to affect my time management. I've started using a planning system and setting clearer priorities, and it's helped a lot.
They all feel genuine, and they all show that you're someone who reflects on themselves and keeps growing. I think that's what interviewers really want to see.
100%. Now, another crucial question, why do you want this job, or why do you want to work for us? This is where your preparation really shows.
I spent a lot of time on this one before my interview this morning. I read about the company, looked at their recent projects, and thought carefully about why their values resonated with me.
That's exactly what you should do. And when you answer, try to connect what the company does with your own professional goals. So instead of something vague like, because it seems like a great company, or worse, because the salary is good.
Ha, please don't say that in an interview.
You say something specific and genuine. I've been following your company's work in sustainable technology for a while, and I really admire the approach you take to innovation. I'm passionate about that area, and I would love the opportunity to contribute my skills to a team that's making a real impact. It shows you've done your homework and that your enthusiasm is real.
It also shows that you see it as more than just a job, that you care about the work itself.
Exactly. And now here's something many candidates forget. You are also allowed to ask questions. Most interviewers will finish by saying, "Do you have any questions for us?" Saying no is a missed opportunity.
What kinds of questions should you ask?
Questions that show you're thinking seriously about the role and the company. For example, what does a typical day in this position look like? Or what are the biggest challenges someone in this role would face in the first few months? Or how would you describe the team culture here? These are all thoughtful and show genuine interest.
And they also give you useful information to decide whether you actually want the job.
Exactly. It's a two-way conversation, not an interrogation. Both sides are evaluating each other.
Now let's talk about some common language mistakes that can make you sound less professional, even if your English is generally quite good.
Yes, this is important. One big area is informality. In an interview, you want to be warm and personable, but you also want to sound professional. So instead of, yeah, totally, say absolutely or definitely. Instead of, my old boss was really difficult, say, my previous manager and I sometimes had different approaches, which actually taught me a lot about professional communication.
And never badmouth a former employer. Even if your last job was genuinely terrible, the interview room is not the place to say so. It makes you look negative and difficult to work with.
Keep it neutral or frame it positively. I'm looking for a new challenge. Works perfectly. Or I feel I've grown as much as I can in my current role and I'm ready for the next step.
Another thing. If you don't understand a question, don't just guess or answer something completely different. It is completely fine to say, "I'm sorry, could you rephrase that?" Or, "Could you give me an example of what you mean?" Interviewers are human beings, and they don't mind at all. It actually shows that you're careful and precise.
I think a lot of learners worry that asking for clarification makes them seem less competent, but actually the opposite is true.
Completely. And one more tip. It is absolutely okay to take a brief moment before you answer. You can say, "That's a great question. Let me think about that for a second." It gives you time to organize your thoughts, and it sounds natural and composed. Rushing to fill silence with the wrong words is far worse than pausing.
Right, because in real conversations, even between native speakers, people don't always answer instantly. A moment of reflection is a sign of thoughtfulness, not weakness.
Exactly. So let's do a natural recap before we go. In a job interview in English, the key things to remember are: introduce yourself with a clear present, past, future structure. Use the right tenses. Past simple for finished experience, present perfect for current ones. Back up your strengths with real examples using the STAR method. Situation, task, action, result. Be honest about your weaknesses, but always show that you're actively working on improving. Research the company and explain clearly and genuinely why you want the role. Ask thoughtful questions at the end of the interview. Stay professional in your language, confident but not casual. And if you need clarification, ask for it.
That's a brilliant summary. And I'd add one final thing. Be yourself. Even in English, interviewers want to connect with a real person. Your personality, your warmth, your genuine enthusiasm, those things come through regardless of language. The phrases we've shared today are tools to help your true self come across more clearly.
Confidence really does come from preparation, and that's exactly what today's episode was all about.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of Sarah and Paul Conversation. We really hope this has helped you feel more ready and more confident for your next job interview in English.
Now here's our question for you. Have you ever had a job interview in English? What was the hardest question you were asked? Tell us in the comments below. We'd love to hear your story and help if we can.
If you found today's episode useful, please give it a like, share it with a friend who might need it, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a new episode.
And remember, you are not bad at English. You are just getting better every single day.
Bye for now.
Bye.